Blockchain Show is a podcast that demystifies cryptocurrencies and distributed ledger technology.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back. You're listening to The Blockchain Show. I'm your host, Ethan Kinderconnect. Today, we've got a very special guest from Atari, the CEO, Fred Chesnais. Fred, welcome to The Blockchain Show.
Sure, thank you. Good afternoon.
It's great to have you here. Before we get into the podcast, maybe just tell us a little bit about yourself and how you came to learn about the blockchain.
I came to blockchain through the video game industry, and because I'm also an investor in tech. Initially, I was a banker and investor, and then 20 years ago, I joined a video game company. At the time, the industry was very, very small. It was Infogrames, and then Infogrames bought the Atari brand from Hasbro, and the company was renamed Atari. So since then, that company has been the owner of the brand, the games, everything that relates to the Atari, so to say, universe. Basically, the team, we all left around 2007 because the hedge fund became the largest shareholder of the company. The hedge fund blew up. They blew up the company themselves. They went into liquidation. So what happened at early 2013, they called me back and said, look, if you want it, it's yours. You just have to, go through bankruptcy because we had filed for bankruptcy for Atari. Just go through the process, but it's yours. I was able to, to manage the process, make my way. I was able to survive through the bankruptcy proceedings, the auctions, and all of that. And so today, I'm one of the largest shareholders. The company was in a pretty difficult situation. 7 years ago, it was 1 million euros of revenue and more than 30 million euros of debt. So not a lot of room for maneuver, right? But we made it. Because the brand is big, I've always been a big supporter of blockchain. For me, it was very natural for Atari to be involved in the blockchain space. So today we just do three things. We do video games, of course, software. That's the DNA of the company. We also have a new console. It's a PC, a mini PC with a console environment. That's the Atari VCS. VCS stands for Video Computer System. And then the third thing we're doing is blockchain. So we do games on the blockchain. We have this token that we're also working on. So it's a very broad initiative in the blockchain space. It makes sense for us.
Really good to hear, because I'm sure a lot of the listeners are familiar with Atari going back to the 2600, very revolutionary, classic icon in the gaming industry. I told a few people that we were going to have you on the show today, and they were kind of amazed. They're like, wow, Atari is still around? And I was like, yeah, Atari's still around. What are you talking about? But I've been looking into you guys for a while, especially with all the blockchain things. So I'm a little bit different from most people. But maybe for any of our listeners who are kind of curious to learn more, because I know you mentioned that it's been a long process to get Atari from where it is to now. Particular interest to our listeners would be the Atari Token. So tell us about the Atari Token and what you envision that enabling gamers to do.
Yeah, sure. So, the brand is known. We've always wanted to be in the blockchain space, always. So let me explain first what we're trying to achieve in that space and why then the token makes sense. First, I'm a big supporter of blockchain, Bitcoin, and each and every cryptocurrency in general. For us, the first, of course, order of business is to have games on the blockchain, right? So today, it's so difficult to make games. It's easier for us, on the one end, to have some of our games on the blockchain. So we're working on some city building games, for instance, some NFTs. But at the same time, it's easier to team up with partners and have games on the blockchain with them. So we have, for instance, an agreement with Animoca out of Hong Kong. We are in the Sandbox. We're working with Wax. They are working on releasing a series of NFTs. So we're also, for instance, working with Native Gaming. It's a casino on the blockchain. We have granted them a license to do games. At the same time, we have our own casino on the blockchain. So the more, the better, I would say. The more initiative, the better. So this is first what we are trying to do, which is, of course, games on the blockchain. That's our DNA. At the same time, the brand is, I would say, broader than games and just broader than in-game transactions. So what we're also interested in is, and that's true of the business, this is a business that is so distributed, so to say, with, a producer, for instance, in Thailand, another, a tester in Africa, a tester in India, a tester in Malaysia. I'm just giving you real examples here. So outside of games, you also have a huge video ecosystem in the video game industry that is moving onto the blockchain because there's no choice. Okay, so inside games, you have microtransactions. Of course, not on Sony PlayStation, not on Xbox, not in the App Store. But in-game, you have blockchain initiatives. Outside of games, you have a lot of initiatives paying people on the blockchain, buying games on the blockchain. You have distributors of games on the blockchain, companies paying companies, individuals buying avatars from other individuals. But, just try to send money to Congo. Be my guest. It's going to cost you 10% or 8%, and it's going to take you 36 hours. So the big initiative and the big opportunity, as I see it, is inside games and outside games. And this is what we are trying to capture at Atari. So we have our wallet, we have our exchange, we have our games, we've teamed up with platforms connecting companies. So it's very broad. And for me, given the fact that we try to cover in the game industry as many use cases as possible, it was very natural for us to create and to launch a utility token, according to all applicable regulations, of course. But it was very, very natural because with that token, you can use it inside games, outside games, between individuals and between companies. And then, we'll see. For the moment, the more use cases, the better. So we are signing up new partners I don't want to say every day, but it would be a little bit too much. The last we have announced was on Friday with Chain Games. We're going to use the Atari token on their platform. So it's, I think it's a good for us. It's a mass market brand, so we have to be as wide and as broad as possible.
Yeah, that's fantastic. I think this is really what I think we've been needing for a while. I mean, we've had a lot of video game developers and another type of companies on this past month, and they're going about it different ways, but I haven't really seen a really approach to integrating blockchain into video games until I saw what you guys are working on. I'm particularly interested on the crypto exchange. I see that you're going to have a mobile app. People can use their credit card even.
Not yet.
Okay. Well, yeah. Well, maybe you should just tell us a little bit about the exchange and how that's going to affect gamers.
For those who are interested, there's a website called atarichain.com. This is where you find, the documentation, the latest news. The exchange, we are trying to offer basically all the tools, all the basic tools, at least at the beginning, for everyone willing to evolve and have an economic life, so to say, in that space. So for us, having a wallet, of course, is important. Offering a token is important. Offering an exchange is also important because, if you have a token and if you cannot use it or exchange it against something else, it's not really interesting. It's an NFT. It's not even an NFT because you can trade your NFT. So you need to have an exchange. I think this is really important. We've also announced that so we have one. We've also announced that the token would be, we had an agreement for a listing of the token with Bitcoin.com. This was announced last Thursday, so October 1. And we've announced, Bitcoin.com has announced that the token would be listed in November. So I think an exchange makes, for us, it makes a lot of sense. But I would say, some may ask, but if they have their own exchange, why are they, trying to go and why are they listing this on Bitcoin.com, right? I think it's a broader vision, so to say. When we started, we had two options. I'm just going a little bit broader, just so that people understand why we're doing this and also the difference between this project and other projects that we could find on the blockchain. To your point, we have there are some game projects on the blockchain. I think we had two big options. One was, okay, we own your brand. This is our brand. I mean, we are responsible for it. We're just going to create the platform, the application where everything will be available, and this is going to be the only platform where the Atari Token can be used. That's the option, which is very kind of exclusive, and we're trying basically to say, hey, we're going to create a monopoly here. And if you want to use the Atari Token, this is going to be only on that platform. The other option was, you know what? There are so many things to do. The brand is known, and we have to run as fast as possible to push, to achieve mass adoption, so to say. We can't have it all, so we need to team up with other people. We're working on our own platform, our own games. We're working on our casino game, for instance. But at the same time, we are granting licenses to other people to use the Atari brand to create more games. And we're also, and this is where the point is very important, we're also teaming up with these other applications. So they are also going to use the Atari Token as one of the token that could be accepted on their platform. So it's really an approach where we try to we try to sign up as many games, as many applications as possible. So the number of use cases for me is very important, and that number of use cases has to grow. Okay, that's what I call mass adoption, and this is what we're trying to achieve.
Yeah, and we've been really speculating on what it would take to accomplish mass adoption for quite some time on this podcast, and it's really exciting to see these things happening. I'll admit, when I first learned about Atari Hotel, Atari Casino, I thought like a physical brick and mortar place, but clearly I'm wrong. So why don't you tell me a little bit more about some of these other initiatives that you guys are working on that we haven't talked about yet?
Yeah, so let's talk about the casinos and the hotels. Maybe first about the hotels, because I had some meetings over the weekend talking and reviewing their concept. So we have granted a license to a group that operates casinos, and they are going to basically, they are working right now on the concept for the Atari hotels in 8 markets in the USA, right? There will be more countries, more cities to come. But the idea for them is, in a nutshell, is of course a hotel in which you have games. But I think, and clearly I can tell you, we are going much deeper, and it's the whole experience that will be gamified. So I don't want to speak on their behalf. We're going to make some additional press releases. We're going to show their concept. But for us, it's we're helping them in the sense that we are granting them a license to exploit the brand and create these Atari hotels. But we are not running the show, so to say. It's a typical license. We have a say on the concept, but after that, they run the business and they create the hotels, and they just pay us some royalties. On the other end, I would say that's on the one end for the Atari hotels. On the other end, for the Atari casinos, it's a much broader initiative here. First of all, I like the casino business. The starting point is just the fact that our audience has gotten older. So everyone who was 12, 13, 15, 16 in the 80s is now older. So they have different tastes, and they also play different games. So they also play casino games. So the fact that the brand is known is very interesting in the casino space, because of course people are like, oh, Atari, that's cool. Let me just try to play a little bit. Of course, if the game is good, they stay. If the game is bad, they leave. But I think there's a brand recognition element that is important here. And then, so what we're trying to do, it's by geographical zone. So in the USA, it's only licensing, because the regulations, getting a license, is just very complicated. So we do not run casinos ourselves. The last thing we've announced, I think, was 10 days ago. We've announced a license for some lottery tickets in the US. So USA, it's only licenses. In Europe, it's also mainly a licensing business, because it's coming from 1 million euros of revenue and 30 million euros of debt. I can't create a casino business in 5 years. So right now, it's still licensing. And the third area, which is very important, is Africa, because first, south of the Sahara, because I love Africa. And here we have a huge opportunity in the sense that everyone is using their phone for mobile money. And just like anywhere, they love to play games and casino games. So here we've made a selected approach in 4 big countries: Congo, DRC, Kenya, Nigeria, and Liberia, and we have licenses in 3 of these countries. And we run games on mobile. So we run lottery games, we run number games, keno games on the phones. And what's very interesting is that we'll be able to connect the mobile wallets we have in Africa with our wallets, or crypto wallet. That's the goal, so that you can more easily make transfers and use cryptocurrencies all over the place. That's what we're doing in casino, and everything is digital. There is no physical casino. I don't want to run that.
Right? Yeah. That's actually how my co-host and I kind of learned about Bitcoin in the first place years and years ago. Was through I think online poker. Funny enough, so it is pretty huge, and it's really cool to see that Atari is there and present. I'd like to take a quick break to let you know about a previous episode sponsored by Envision. In episode 185 of the Blockchain Show, Daryl and Russell from Envision joined me for a look into waste tracking on the blockchain and how the Envision token is revolutionizing the way we deal with waste. We'll be talking about a really innovative use case for blockchain tech here with DeFi, renewable energy and tracking, tokenomics and distribution, and how they're bringing together people all across the world to help protect our planet and future. You can learn more at envisiontoken.com, NVZNTOKEN.com, and become part of their digital token campaign, where they are envisioning a simpler, cleaner, and better future. Or you can go to theblockchainshow.com and check out the show notes for episode 185. And now, back to the show. I saw something about Atari betting, and I'm curious how that ties in with the Atari token, and if it's going to be cryptocurrency betting or other currencies. It's
on the blockchain, because everyone wants to know if the RTP, the return to player, is 80%, 75%, 70, 95. So it's betting on the blockchain. So you have the history of all the bets, and you know exactly what has happened to each machine.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, and you mentioned a lot of people in Africa are on mobile.
I'm a map guy, I can tell you. I know a lot about the stats and the probabilities in number games. So it's very important to understand. You have a couple of, when you go to a physical casino, there are a few things to know. Otherwise, you're just going to lose your mind.
Yeah. And this might be kind of a weird question, but I always kind of wonder if a kid can start out getting Atari tokens, can he eventually change that into other currencies through your exchange? Or once he's got the Atari token, is it pretty much going to stay that way?
No, that's the point of the listing with Bitcoin.com, right? You'll be able to trade.
Gotcha. And then just to follow up on that, is it possible to earn Atari tokens through in-game, kind of like grinding it out? Say like a kid doesn't really have access to money, but...
Yes, for the moment, it will be in casino games. So it's not really grinding because you can lose, right? Grinding, you cannot lose. You just spend time and you can only win. That's not going to be available at launch because first it's not only our effort, right? As I've said, and this is where, it's interesting and important to understand that we can't have it all, meaning we will need a lot of people also to take licenses and help us if we want to reach, broad mass adoption. So that type of games, if someone wants to do it, we can always grant a license and that person can develop that game and just offer that feature. It's not only us. It's so, as far as Atari is concerned, it's not a priority for us because to offer that type of feature, because we have so many things to do in the meantime. But at the same time, if someone who is listening is interesting, there's a contact us, email address on the website. And yeah, we are very open to granting and entering into licensing, non-exclusive licensing agreement for someone who's, hey, I have this game, I would love to do this. It's no problem for us.
Yeah, that's great. This is probably just like a childish dream of making money from video games that is not quite realistic. But anyways, before I get to my last question, because I know we've only got a few minutes left here, I wanted to ask you about maybe the timeline of the token, where people can kind of go to potentially learn more and stay connected with you.
So the timeline and all relevant information, that's on AtariChain.com. You have, I don't want to say everything you need to know, but you have all the relevant documentation there. And you have the rules for the KYC, AML procedures that we are following. We are not selling to the US people, but it's just the regular stuff. And here you can find the latest on the timeline as well. So on October 1, we've announced with Bitcoin.com that the token would be listed on Bitcoin.com exchange. And that's the latest, I would say, we've said on regarding the timeline. And in between this podcast and the time you broadcast it, you go to the website, maybe you'll find more news. That's the best way to keep contact and to stay tuned with the project. AtariChain.com.
Okay. Well, first, before we finish up here, I just want to say thank you. But last question is your vision. What is your vision for Atari, the blockchain, and the future of permissionless decentralized networks?
My vision with a little v, right? Because I'm not here to try to be a guru and say, oh, this is what's going to happen. I think, there's going to be a lot more users coming onto the blockchain and coming to use cryptocurrencies. I think people don't get it in the Western world. That's an old world, but they say, why do I need a Bitcoin? Why do I need a Litecoin? What is that, right? But I think that's normal because we have an ID, we have a bank account, we have an American Express, we have a Visa or MasterCard. So basically, life is super easy, right? When it comes to moving money. And today, you have basically 4 billion people that are connected on the internet and that have, more or less access to that type of facilities, so you can make a living. It's not true for everyone because you have a lot of underserved people who live in the USA, in Europe, and who don't have access to the banking system because they've lost access to it. But I would say that's very important. But the biggest trend is that in the next few years, given the satellite systems that are being launched, the one by SpaceX, you have the one Google Visual Balloon, so it's different. But you're going to have, and I'm just going to oversimplify and characterize the trend, but you're going to jump from 4 to 8 billion people being connected. The problem is that the extra 4 billion, they will not have IDs, they will not have an address, they will not have access to a regular bank account because they can't prove their ID. So for them, the only way, they'll find a way to make money, to earn a living. It will be working online. And to make a living, they will need, other types of currencies, cryptocurrencies. And this is why I think the blockchain space and the cryptocurrency space is very important. That could be a life-changing, event for these people. Think about people in Venezuela, right? If they had, instead of keeping the Bolivar, if they had taken the Bolivar and purchased Bitcoins, they would be much better off today. I have nothing against Venezuela. I'm just saying this. Same in Zimbabwe. So you have a lot of these situations that we do not necessarily recognize here in in the US and in Europe, but this is the reality. So I think the big vision or the vision is that you're going to see a lot more users in the space, coming from different angles, coming with different tastes. You're going to have maybe a cryptocurrency in the gaming space. We hope to be the crypto of reference for the video game space. You're going to see maybe other cryptocurrencies in some admin space. People will just fill out paperwork, do some admin stuff that is currently done in the West. So for me, this is the big trend. So if you check out the white paper that we have uploaded, there's a section about that. The section about how the blockchain, I believe, will be used by these people and by us to make more applications so people can really earn a living online, because I think that's the only way to get out of poverty. But that's my personal statement. So we hope, and I hope that Atari will be part of that. And I hope that as far as gaming is concerned, video gaming and gaming, I hope to be to have a token that is a token of reference, at least for that industry. Remember that before the Civil War in this country, in the USA, you had, I think, more than $5,000. Okay, these were notes, but they were dollars, right? So maybe I think one currency in one country is it's just a short moment in history, and then we're going back to worldwide a lot more applications, blockchain and cryptocurrencies. I think that's the big trend coming. I see it coming, and we just hope to be able to take advantage of it and be relevant in the space in the next 5 years. This is just a trend. It's impossible for 4 billion people to make a living, destroying the forest and building factories. It's not going to work. So they will work online, and they will do jobs that are currently done here. And as far as we are concerned, we have to basically move one step up and do the next level, go to the next level in terms of qualifications and things that we are doing. But you're going to see a lot of people coming online and saying, "Hey, I can do this."
Yeah. Well, I really appreciate you sharing your observation with us. I think you're right. We've run out of time, unfortunately, but Fred, I've really enjoyed talking with you. Thank
Likewise.
You for joining us on the podcast. And I'll put links in the show notes. So everybody, I encourage you to check it out.
Thank you very much. And thanks for everyone for listening until the end. Thank you so much.